I said to my boss, oh my God, that's a bit harsh. And he said, oh, Judith, you're in communications. This really has nothing to do with you. And I thought, wow, we have a lot of work to do here. Because I would bet 90% of the complaints that come to your patient departments are about communications, about the way it's done and the way it's not done, and the thoughtlessness with which it's done. Because communications builds that bridge. It builds that trust, it builds that relationship, and it has to be a two-way street. It has to be something that can be learned and improved. I work with a group of medical students now who are borderline autism. They're on the spectrum. They're brilliant, brilliant clinicians. They want to do the right thing. They want to save people, and they will. But they have absolutely no emotional intelligence. They don't know how to connect. And I've actually scripted them with what to say. You know, it's not that they don't want to do the right thing, they don't know how. So you walk in, my name is, what is your name? How would you like me to talk to you? How would you like me to address you? Do you want to be Mrs.? Can I call you by your first name? Those are just, tell me a bit about your family. I suggest that when any clinician talks to a patient, it's a 1-2 rule. You make the statement, and then you say, do you have any questions? And then you say, did I answer your question, or is there more you want to ask? And I guarantee at the end, each of those statements that you've made will be better understood. The question isn't, do you have any questions? The question you should be asking as clinicians is, what questions do you have? Did I answer all right? Is there anything else you'd like to know? These are the things that will not only build the relationship, they'll make your patients better partners. They'll make them take their medicine and understand why. They won't be back in your office tomorrow, and you will have the two-way partnership. And when I talk to patients, I say, we have a responsibility too. We have a responsibility to understand everything that is happening in a healthcare practitioner's life. Some patients have good results, some patients die. When I talk with my communications team and we'd have a press release go out and there was a misspelling or something disastrous that happened, I'd say, no patients died on our table, let's put this in perspective. I mean, the work that you do makes the biggest difference in people's lives. And so the stakes are high and the responsibilities are high, but it is a two-way thing. When I became a patient, I looked up the meaning of the word. Do you know what the meaning of the word patient is? It's to suffer. So already, that's the expectation. And when you become a patient, one of my favorite authors in the world, a British writer named Christopher Hitchens, said, to become a patient is like being a cube of sugar dissolved in water, completely divorced of any way to take an active part. Patients now want to take an active part. Technology has opened many worlds to patients. Dr. Google is there, and I'd like to talk a moment about technology from both perspectives. There is no doubt that this is the traditional look at what patient care was about. We see a doctor, gazing intently at the patient. We see the family in the background, anxiously awaiting, and that was pretty traditional. This is a drawing that a young patient in the States did when she was getting care. And what you see is the doctor huddled over the computer, the patient family in the background, but he's not looking at the patient, he's looking at the charts. I mean, I once got an MRI evaluation from a doctor, and we were sitting there. I was gazing at the supply cabinet because he wasn't looking at me. He was looking at my MRI, and I finally said to him, don't you want to look at the packaging? I mean, he had not glanced my way. And that is a big barrier. Technology can be empowering and it can be overpowering. It can be a barrier or it can be a bridge. It's amazing. When I was told I needed radiation right away, that turned out to be 3 weeks later, and I said, oh my gosh, is there a lineup? Shouldn't we start tomorrow? And he said, no, it'll take us that long to evaluate the information, track the right doses and all the rest of it. Now Princess Margaret has this computer, they can do that in 15 minutes. I mean, the diagnostics are amazing. Everything about technology can be liberating, but it needs to be a partnership. with the human. What people want in healthcare is they want your knowledge. They want your skill, but they want your compassion. Because without compassion, there's not real health care. There's health servicing. There's not really the interactions. There are countless examples of doctors who feel that now with technology and inputs, there are three presences in the room. There's the doctor, the technology, and the patient. And the patient is something off in the distance. A doctor said to me, well, what can I do? Because it's easier to show things on the screen. I said, then bring the patient to the screen and walk through it with them. Take your iPad and sit next to your patient and walk through it with them. It can't be the barrier to how you treat someone. It is seen that technology is 20% of the interaction and your personal should be 80%. And I believe that because it makes a huge difference. Just like kindness makes a huge difference. There was a study 6 years ago in an emergency room in the States, and people were measured on doing kind things to the patients that they had. And do you know return visits dropped by 27%? Because people felt less anxious. The kindness had hit them in the right way, and they were able to move on in a better direction. The technology that I've seen is extraordinary in terms of giving people access to their files, in terms of long-distance care, in terms of robots who don't need to do it. But the question for me, as someone who cares deeply about where's the patient in all this and what difference is it going to make, is does that liberate you clinicians for more time for your patients? Does that give you a more personal relationship to look at the technology together? Or does it mean you can hustle off to another patient? And the process that we have now, the systems that we have, are designed around speed, efficiency, measurement. You know, they're designed around the hospital's needs as opposed to the patient's need. To hear questions answered, to feel free to ask questions, to understand. I don't think I'm unusual. I never wanted to chart the course for my medical care. Truly, brain surgery is your business. I trust that. But I truly wanted to understand what the options were and why this was the best option. I wanted to be a partner in my own care. There is a hospital in a small city in Canada which revised its whole patient relations program, and on their walls is nothing about me without me. You know, at University Health Network, where we've done a lot of great work, we've done a value statement as a compass for our care. And you'll see it's very easy. Partner with me, be kind to me, listen to me, ask me basic stuff, but it's made a big difference. And more than just a plaque or a brochure, patients are now embedded in process and procedure and programs and evaluation. And that voice is seen as a partner, not just a tick of the box because we have to do it. Oh, this is